Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. I am Dave Biddle flying solo on today's show. Did you guys see what Jeremiah Smith said about Julian Sayin? Woo! Reminded me a lot of what the seniors who turned pro when they're at the combine, NFL combine, what they were saying about Julian Sayin. So Jeremiah Smith said things like he can make any throw. Julian Sayin can make any throw. He's definitely going to be a guy. It's going to be scary for our opponents. So Julian Sayin has the full backing of WR1, the only player ever to have a perfect rating for EA Sports. And that's, game knows game. So that's awesome news. And good to see you guys. I am flying solo on the show today, like I said. And we're going to get into what Jeremiah said about Julian Sayin, talk a little bit about the quarterback competition. Is it really a competition? I think we've thought all along it's going to be Julian. I've said all along, Julian. I'll be shocked if it's not Julian. But I'm thrilled Lincoln Kienholz is on this team. I think that he could get the job done if need be. But, when you have J.J. Smith saying what he's saying, you have what the veterans from the national championship team were saying about Julian. It seems like we know who the quarterback's going to be, and that's fine. It was like last year, I thought for sure it was going to be Will Howard, and Ryan Day didn't want to anoint anybody a starter. And then a couple weeks before the opener, he named Will the starter over Devin, and I was thrilled Devin was on the team. And I'll be rooting for Devin like crazy at Cal this year. All right, before we get to more in detail about what Julian said, I'll let you guys know about Factor Meals. Great deal you guys can get. Summer is here. We're in full swing. The last thing you want to be doing is being stuck inside, prepping your meals and cleaning up the mess after you're done. That's where Factor comes in. And we're going to get you guys a great deal. 50% off deal and free shipping. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. I like their chicken with sun-dried tomatoes. I like a lot of their meals. They have a filet mignon with garlic mashed potatoes. They got a bunch of smoothies. If you're into eating healthy, they got you covered. It tastes great, arrives fresh. Pop it in your fridge, then pop it in your microwave, ready in 2 minutes. Fantastic. I've been telling my friends about it, including at the radio station that I moonlight at. It's like, stop bringing these stinky microwave meals in. Get some Factor. All right, guys, get started at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off. Use code bucknuts50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code bucknuts50 off at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Once again, that's factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. What a great deal. What a great deal having Jeremiah Smith around for another year, or shall I say another 2 years. How crazy is that? He just put up just an unbelievably great season, and Buckeyes have him for 2 more years. That falls right in line with basking. We're going to bask in the glow of having JJ for another 2 years. So I find this very, very, very interesting. For Jeremiah to say these things about Julian Sayin, he said it was a story in The Athletic, if you're wondering where this is coming from, and it was mostly just about, Jeremiah being a freak and how hard of a worker he is and staying humble. They interviewed his dad, but the reporter did a good job. I think Manny Navarro is the reporter because the reporter's located in Miami, and Jeremiah's obviously from that area and was down there. And it was just about, it was a really, really good story. And of course, he asked about, being a good reporter, asked about the quarterback situation, and Jeremiah didn't give him some boxed answer like, yeah, we believe in both of them. And he said it almost like he was just talking to the boys in the locker room. And this, again, though, this wasn't just, let's say JJ, not that he's known to do this. Let's say he's just talking up his friend. Let's say he's close friends with Julian. Okay, you'd be, well, okay, that's one guy saying it, even though it's Jeremiah Smith. It's just one guy. Maybe it's more of a battle than we think. But then I hearken back to the combine and all those guys just gushing about Julian, saying everybody from Jack Sawyer to Will Howard, Emeka Egbuka, they were all saying the same thing. They're like, Julian's going to be the real deal. So what does this mean for you guys? Well, obviously you're still basking. But this should help your bask if you need any. The fact that we still don't know when Julian Sayin is going to be a good quarterback. Hopefully it's right away against Texas, right? I'm convinced he's going to be a good quarterback this year. He might be a great quarterback. But when? CJ Stroud wasn't CJ Stroud right away as a redshirt freshman. Ended up having a really good year. That's what I mean. I think he, especially with the weapons around him, this offensive line, being in a Ryan Day offense, Brian Hartline offense as well. I like the running backs. I like everything about this offense. Best tight end room I've seen. I mean, Mylan Graham might be the number 4 wide receiver because you got Jeremiah Smith. You got Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis. Quincy Porter might be your 5th wide receiver. Bryson Rogers your 6th. Again, the tight end room is crazy. I think even a guy that was like an average, above average quarterback could have like a really good year this year. So, and Julian Sayin's better than that. So I don't want to get ahead of myself because, again, I use the CJ Stroud example. He's a redshirt freshman, had like all of 12 passes last year. I think there's going to be some ups and downs, but I think overall we're going to look back this year and say Julian Sayin had a good year. And if we look back after this year and say Julian Sayin had a good year, I think the Buckeyes are going to be right where we want them to be. And as Steve is saying on X, I'm glad I see this. It's tough for me to keep up with the comments when I'm doing it solo. Steve on X says, love Jeremiah saying he hates Michigan. Jeremiah just gets it, man. And I love how humble he stayed. I mean, he pulls up to this camp that he was at in a black Lamborghini. But I'm telling you, so as humble as you could stay, right? Being a millionaire already, and multimillionaire, and driving a Lamborghini. And I'm sure you guys all know, you've seen him interviewed. Just a really good young man. And you can see why. I mean, his father, Chris, and they did a great job raising him, and his mother. I mean, he's just, I don't know. He works his butt off. He says he's up to like 220 pounds. He's like 225, and he's faster. So he's just more, now he's even more jacked up, and he's faster. The guy is a freak. Absolutely freaked. I hear you, Mika. Mika's saying she's excited for the season. Yeah, I mean, how could you not be, right? We're still basking, and then we have a season to look forward to here. It starts in a couple months, which is cool to say. I mean, really less than a couple months now. Big Ten Media Days later this month, and camp kicks off, and then the Longhorns will be coming to Columbus before we know it. All right, so again, like the guys that were on the team last year, like heavy hitters, talking up Julian Sayin. That says a lot to me right there. So great story on Jeremiah Smith. I encourage you guys to read it. But the stuff that stood out to me the most was what he said about Julian Sayin, because I know Jeremiah is a freak. I know he continues to work his butt off. He says he's got the 2nd lowest body fat on the team. He can bench like 225 pounds. Like he can do like 25 reps. He's like, that'd be like decent for like an offensive lineman at like the combine, right? We're talking about a young man I don't even know if he's turned 19 yet. He either is just turned 19 or is about to. So he's not one of these kids that's like old for his grade or was held back or something like that early in life. Like, no, if anything, he's young for his grade. Yeah, the legend continues to grow. All right. The other big news that I want to talk about is coming from a big man, Jamir Perez. Listed at 6'4", 260, says he's 260, 360. I love that. Sounds like he's down more to like 335, but you watch this kid, he moves very well for somebody that size, and you just cannot teach that. You can't let a kid like that get out of the state, especially when it comes from a pipeline in Cleveland, Glenville, and I don't think he's going to get out of the state. Right now, he is committed to Florida. But Jamir Perez yesterday, I believe it was on X, one of the social media platforms, put out there that big announcement. Yeah, I think it was X. Big announcement coming on Friday. Quote, big announcement on Friday from a big man. Does that mean for sure he's going to pick Ohio State on the 4th of July? It doesn't mean for sure. It sure sounds like he's going to, if I had to guess. And if he doesn't announce it on Friday, if it's something else that he's doing, I think he's going to be a Buckeye in the end. We've been saying that pretty much on every Bucknuts Morning 5 show, whether I'm hosting or I'm with Dan or if Dan's hosting or whatever. We've been saying on pretty much every show we think Jamir Perez will eventually be a Buckeye. And I think he will be. And then there you go. There's your D-tackle class. And they can focus on getting like edge rushers because they got Damari Simeon last Friday. They got Cameron Brickle on Saturday. And now it looks like, so within a week, they're going to get 3 defensive tackles. I like that a lot. All of them 3 stars. I'm not going to sit here and act like they're landing like the best D-tackles in the country. But like a guy like Jamir Perez, I mean, that's, I think he's going to be a force. So, yeah, they're ranked, and some of these guys like Simeon was like didn't even have a rating a few months ago, like when he got discovered. He's like just kind of a late bloomer. And then the young man that's at IMG right now, Brickle, another 3-star, about a high 3-star. And I like that he's already 305 pounds. Simeon's a little bit lighter, right around 280. He might be bigger than that though. I don't know if I'm 100%. Bill Kurlick has taught me not to say 100%, but I'm like Robert. I'm like 99.9% convinced that Perez is going to flip to Ohio State. I like what Robert's saying here, though. Robert says, I myself am 100% convinced that Perez is flipping to Ohio State. There you go. And Hollywood, Hager say Simeon is a 4-star. Let's go with that. We have him. I guess it depends on if you look at our in-house rankings or you look at the composite. Even though it's 24/7 Sports we have our own in-house ratings. Not that we have anything to do with them at Bucknuts. I always like the composite because you get just more eyeballs and 24/7 came up with the composite. Why not cite the composite? So yeah, you might be right. He might be a 4-star with the composite. Regardless, it reminds me of Carter from last year's class. The kid that enrolled early, Jarquez Carter. I don't think he was very highly rated, but you watch that film and it's like this kid is just wrecking shop against top competition in Florida. So sign me up for that. So yeah, I definitely think that they're going to get Jamir Perez, and then they've got to focus on getting some edge rushers. They do have one defensive end in the class, but this would give them 3 defensive tackles. I like that. I was hoping for 2 good ones. Hopefully 3. Looks like they're going to get 3. So that's fantastic. Yeah, people are pointing out that Ty Hamilton was a 3-star prospect. So is his brother. And Davon is making a ton of money right now. I know Davon was bigger than a little bit bigger than Ty, but still, I don't think he was rated much higher. In fact, Ty was probably rated, once people saw his older brother, we better rate him like a little bit higher. Davon didn't have that luxury, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, you easily can be. I mean, AJ Hawk was a 3-star. We all can name many, many 3-stars that panned out at Ohio State. Now, you don't want to always shop in that aisle, though. Mark Pantoni and Ryan Day and the whole staff, they typically shop in the 5-star aisle to begin with. But, it's a little different with defensive line recruiting, as we all know. I mean, everybody's negatively recruiting the heck out of LJ. Certain schools are willing to get in bidding wars for high school kids. As we talked about, Ohio State would be willing to do that if you're a Jeremiah Smith, you're Edric Houston, I don't think Devin Sanchez was going for the highest bidder by any means, or he probably would be elsewhere. I don't pretend to know what he's making, but I'm just saying, for the best of the best, Ohio State will engage in that. Okay, for a guy that they really like, but they're not absolutely 100% convinced is going to be a stud at this level, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So that's why you saw them get involved in that bidding war with J.J. Smith last year, where Brian Day's knees literally buckled as he's talking to the media. So, and I completely endorse that. Still basking. But really, I mean, even regardless of that, Ohio State has benefited from NIL. Ohio State has benefited from the portal. And right now they have the number 5 class in the country in 2026. So I think people are getting a little, not you guys, right? Not you guys, but I think I've seen some fans getting a little restless. They're not listening to us about you got to remain basking. We're going to get to some more stuff here in a moment. I find it very interesting that the reps for Ohio State at Big Ten Media Day were announced. I give Ryan Day a lot of credit here because if you're in the media and you're a national writer or you're another Big Ten team and you're covering this in Vegas, you're hoping 2 of Ohio State's 3 reps are going to be Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. And you're thinking, are they really going to send a sophomore wide receiver who doesn't really like to talk much? Are they going to send a junior and Caleb Downs? It's his last year at Ohio State, so maybe they will. They'll probably send Sonny Styles, which they are. And look at Ryan Day. He's sending Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith as well. I love that. Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith are your player reps for the Buckeyes for Big Ten Media Days later this month in Vegas, and I love that. So we're going to get into that in a moment. I'm really curious. I want to get some comments on this. I don't know who's going to be the offensive captains on this team. I thought all along the defensive captains would be Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. There you go. I think that's pretty much etched in stone, considering they're going to be 2 of the guys that go to Big Ten Media Days. Does this mean Jeremiah Smith is etched in stone as a sophomore captain? I don't know if I'd go that far. I think taking him to Media Days as Ryan Day, being a good guy. But then I look at so I don't know. I mean, it'd be pretty rare for it wouldn't be unprecedented. It'd be pretty rare for a sophomore to be captain. Laurinaitis was captain as a sophomore. I mean, it's happened, I believe, right? Wasn't he a 3-time captain? I think so. He was at least a 2-time captain. But I wonder if he's going to be just taking JJ to Media Days, but somebody else, 2 other guys will be captain. But who? Look at this. There's a void of seniors on offense. You have Ethan Onionwa, but they're not going to have a guy that just got here as a transfer. be a captain. Will Howard wasn't even a captain last year, despite he really was. Now, if you've been here a year, like Caleb Downs, completely different. You didn't just get here. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Oni Onwa is having a great offseason. He will be a captain. He's a fifth-year senior. Donaldson's another one. He's a transfer. I mean, the guys that are seniors are the transfers. Saraveld is a guy that I think has captain qualities. He's going to be a third-year sophomore. You're going to make a sophomore captain? Maybe Jeremiah Smith and Saraveld will be your captains. Maybe a Carnell Tate, because this is going to be his last year. Maybe a Will Kazmarek. He's been here a year now. He's a fifth-year senior. One of the rare fifth-year seniors who didn't just get here, or seniors, period. So we'll see. Luke Montgomery's been here. I think Carson Hinsman would be an interesting one. He's a fourth-year junior. Everything that he went through after being in the doghouse last year, would he then go from doghouse to national champion to captain? Is that the progression we're going to get from Mr. Carson Hinsman? Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you got to be the quarterback of the offensive line, and that would be a good story for someone like me. That'd be cool, like to write about. But also, I think it would just be a good sign for the Buckeyes that Carson Hinsman's not just back in the good graces and playing well at center, but he's one of the leaders of this team. I mean, that'd be a giant leap from the previous year. So we're here at Saraveld. Yeah, Saraveld would be interesting. I think he's definitely going to be a future captain. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I've never had a tougher time trying to think who's going to be the captains. The more I think about Carson Hinsman, assuming everything, he is back in the good graces, and having I think Tyler Bowen fresh set of eyes, maybe that helps a little bit. But we'll see what happens. All right, let me do my final ad read. Let you guys know about our friends over at Cornbread. Bam! This is their THC seltzers that they have. I'm gonna tell you about the gummies and a great deal you guys can get. They're from a neighboring state. It's a made in the USA product. They're coming to you live from Kentucky. Our friends down in Kentucky is where Cornbread comes from. Great company. As Dan Rubin said, he took it to these seltzers. He took these to like a grad party, and like the moms at the grad party were like, "Well, where can I get more of those?" And Dan was like, "Oh, well, let me tell you, and I can get you a good deal." All right, you guys ready for your healthy happy hour? Cornbread's THC gummies offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation or relaxation. I'm just going to start making up words now. Happiness and relaxation. America's first USDA organic THC edible, proudly grown in Kentucky. They have 10 milligrams of THC per gummy for just the right dose. Perfect for taking the edge off without making you feel anxious or paranoid like other cannabis edibles. Apparently, they're really good for grad parties too. The moms really like them. So I went to all those grad parties. I didn't realize that was something I should have brought to the grad parties. I'd be afraid like one of the kids would drink it or something. Cornbread uses no harsh solvents and no synthetic ingredients, unlike most hemp THC products. Cornbread's gummies are Farm Bill compliant and legal for adults over 21. If you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They've created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that's 100% legal, like I said. As a special offer for our Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. Bam. All right, yeah, so I have no idea who's going to be the starting or who's going to be the captains, but maybe Hinsman. And I guess if I had to bet right now, I probably would go Hinsman and Carnell Tate. It'd be kind of cool if JJ was. We know he's only going to be here 2 more years. Why not have him be one of the captains? He's just not. They're trying to get him to be a little more vocal, and he's trying to do that. Again, though, everybody leads their own way. The AJ Hawk example is the best. I love it when Laurinaitis was talking about the different leadership abilities people have and the different way people lead. You can't be somebody you're not. If you're not a big rah-rah guy and you try to give a big rah-rah speech in the locker room, the guys are going to see right through that and you're going to look like a phony, right? If you're a quiet guy, you can still be a leader. And he uses AJ Hawk as an example. AJ didn't talk a lot. Whether it was during practice, in the locker room, he didn't talk a lot. But sometimes he did. And when AJ Hawk talked, you could hear a pin drop. Little Animal said, right? You could hear a pin drop. Everybody would stop and listen to what AJ Hawk was saying. Like, oh, AJ's saying this? We better I better freaking listen to what he's saying here. So I love that. Everybody can lead their own way. You know, James was more, I'm guaranteed he was more of a rah-rah guy, right? You think of like Anthony Schlegel. I love Schlegs. Schlegel was not a quiet guy, but like one of his best friends, AJ Hawk was. Everybody leads their own way. Will Howard was a great leader, boisterous, fiery. But then when he'd meet with the media, he acted like he was a coach. Finished every press conference with "Go Bucks," like he was one of the coaches. We'd meet with him every week right after we met with Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Jim Knowles, and then it'd be Will Howard. It would either be Knowles or Chip Kelly. They'd rotate. Every week we got Ryan Day, one of the coordinators, and then Will Howard. Every week. It was like, and typically you'd get maybe like one of the other assistant coaches. This year was different. This past year, getting a quarterback because he just was such a great leader, and just great representative for the university. I mean, obviously winning the national championship, but Will Howard was almost like a storybook situation for him. It was cool meeting his mom. I met his mom at media day. I've told this story before, and I was like, man, this is just so awesome having him here for a year. I wish we could have him longer. And she goes, yeah, he said that this is the best decision he's ever made in his life. And I'm thinking, this is a pretty good decision by Ohio State to go after him too, right? Equal admiration society here. So I still can't believe the Steelers got him in the 6th round. Not that he's going to come in. Obviously, they have Aaron Rodgers now. Even if they didn't, it's not like he's going to come in as a rookie and set the world on fire. But I do think he's going to carve out a NFL career. That might be as a backup. Still getting him in the 6th round, highway robbery. Congrats to the Steeler fans out there. You also got Captain Jack in the 4th round. He never should have lasted that long. Of course, you guys got him. When the Steelers were on the clock in the 4th round, I just knew it. I'm like, oh, they're gonna get Sawyer here, and of course, you guys did. I'm not sad about it at all. My Bengals stocked up on Michigan guys that aren't good, and used early draft picks on guys from Michigan that are not good. All right. Anyway, now my blood pressure's going up. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. I'm going to get some thoughts in. I want to get some comments in the chat here. All right. So Ohio State has obviously had we've been so fortunate with great quarterbacks this century. I mean, it was like for a while, I was like, geez. I mean, you think about like early Cooper years were not, and then finally Bobby Hoying came along. That's when things started to get a little better. Bobby Hoying ended up being a really good quarterback, and then Joe Germain after that. I mean, Stanley Jackson kind of in between. But for a while, I was like, man, are we ever going to have a run of good quarterbacks? And then I'm going to start with Craig Krenzel since he won the national championship, helped them win the national championship in 2002. Was a 5th round pick. But I want you guys to give me your top 2 quarterbacks of this century for the Buckeyes. Put it in the chat. Top 2 quarterbacks of this century. So here's the guys. So it doesn't have to be in order, or you can put them in order. I don't care. Krenzel, Troy Smith. Look at this list. Krenzel, Troy Smith, Terrell Pryor, Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, Will Howard. I'm even leaving out Todd Beckman, who was first team All Big Ten by the media in 2007, which is still one of the funniest things in the world when Jim Tressel, because he was honorable mention All Big Ten by the coaches and first team All Big Ten by the media. And Jim Tressel says, it goes to show that we know a lot more than you guys do, making fun of his own quarterback, who was first team All Big Ten, when the coaches said, yeah, he should be honorable mention. And Tress said, yeah, pretty much he should be honorable mention, not first team. Idiots in the media. So my 2, I'm not even looking at your answers yet. My 2 are Troy Smith and CJ Stroud. But listen, man, there's no wrong answers here. Like, I could easily make an argument for Justin Fields. I could easily make an argument for Dwayne Haskins, even though it was 1 year, the best passing year in Ohio State history. About 5,000 passing yards, just under 5,000 passing yards, 50 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Just ridiculous. Braxton Miller. I could make an argument for Braxton easily. He was started as a true freshman, despite the deck being stacked against him, and had some good moments that year, like the win over Russell Wilson in Wisconsin. And then what happened? He wins silver football in 2012, leads the Buckeyes to an undefeated season. Probably would have won the national championship that year if they were able to go play. They would have played Notre Dame in the BCS national championship game. Big Ten MVP as a sophomore. Big Ten MVP as a junior, and then just couldn't play any quarterback anymore because he got his shoulder destroyed. But like 2-time Silver Football Award winner, Braxton was really, really good. I could easily make an argument for Justin Fields. Easily. That's why this was not easy at all. So I'm going with Troy Smith. And keep in mind with Troy, I know Troy's legacy is like, I don't know, it was definitely affected. I don't know if it was like greatly affected. But people think of that last game, and I get it. But don't forget, it wasn't just the Michigan game that year, the 1-2. It wasn't just that he won the Heisman. Really, the only Ohio State quarterback to ever win the Heisman. Because Les Horvath, back in the day, I guess he was technically a quarterback, but we'll say the only quarterback in the modern era to win the Heisman is Troy Smith for Ohio State. And I think the only quarterback in the modern era of the Big Ten, unless I'm forgetting somebody, I think he's the only one to win the Heisman in the modern era that's a quarterback from the Big Ten. So, but beyond all of that, which is important stuff, he was a Michigan killer, not just in 06, 04, his breakout party, when they were underdogs and they blew out Michigan in the horseshoe with Chad Henne. And then the next year, the best comeback in the history of the rivalry in Ann Arbor in 05 with the Gonzo catch. Troy Smith is an absolute killer of Michigan. Good Michigan teams, too. And just absolute nails. For him to win the Heisman said a lot. And CJ, I give CJ the nod over some of these other guys that are just tremendous. Excuse me. I'm getting choked up talking about my QBs here. Jay Fields was awesome. You could make an argument for Will Howard. I think it'd be tough to make an argument for Will Howard. JT Barrett, if you're going by just career stats, you could make an argument for him. You look at JT Barrett's career stats, you're like, damn. And people say, well, he couldn't throw the ball. And then if you knew nothing about JT Barrett and you looked at his stats his final year, you'd be like, well, yeah, he can throw the ball well. Like, we saw him. He couldn't really at all times throw the ball well. And, well, look at this Penn State game. Looks like that's like Joe Montana happened. And he went 33 of 39. So the Ryan Day effect was real in 2017. Like, JT actually, until he got hurt, he never should have played in the Big Ten championship game that year. He got hurt against Michigan. He could barely walk in the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin. But Urban knew he only had that game left in the bowl game, so he played him. Could barely walk. I would have played Haskins, but, Urban knows a little bit more about football than me. So I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud and Troy Smith in whatever order, but no wrong answers. No wrong answers. All right, guys. D. Rubin will be with you guys tomorrow. And then it's the 4th of July. Hopefully we get some good news on the 4th with Jamir Perez. Him saying he's got a big announcement on Friday. He's either likes to, joke around a little bit, or the Buckeyes are about to have their 3rd D tackle in this class, and a big one at that. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. He says, appreciate that. Little shout out to the fan here in Columbus. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for joining me for this solo edition of the Five-ish. And hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks. Still basking.